We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goes...
So hundreds of thousands of people go missing every year. And that's what got me into remote viewing. You know, I thought it was a skill I could learn to maybe help find some missing people. Originally, I learned out of a book. The book was called Coordinate Remote Viewing by David Morehouse. I read most of the book. I didn't finish the book, but I read enough to get down the basics so I could practice targets. So let me give you guys a quick rundown on how a typical session will go. You're given a set of coordinates, and these coordinates are connected to an unknown target. It could be any person, place, or thing. And then you're given feedback after the session. Now, feedback is the most important thing because it verifies whether you are letting your imagination take over or you're really hitting the intended target. That's why most remote viewing sessions are focused on things on Earth versus remote viewing something out in Jupiter. Because you can't really verify what you're seeing on Jupiter, but you can verify places on Earth, things on Earth. But one day I decided to do a remote viewing session on the moon. Now this is called front loading because I already knew what the target was. And remember, there was no way I was gonna get feedback, but it seemed like something fun to do. So the session started out typical. I did a cool down, which was just kind of relaxing. And then I started my session. Now, as I was going through the session, I started noticing structures, construction going on. And I also noticed like there was stuff inside the moon. There was like machinery going inside the moon. And on the surface, I noticed this like huge dome. It looked like almost like a spaceship, but was really flat on the surface of the moon. And most importantly, there were people inside the spaceship, but there was also people outside the spaceship. But these people weren't wearing like spacesuits. They were just outside the spaceship. And right when I noticed the people, I instantly became fatigued. I mean, I could barely stand up. I could barely hold my pencil to the session. So I was like, all right, for some reason, maybe I ate something wrong. I just need to lay down. So I went to sleep. And I had this dream that I walked outside my house and a spaceship lit up. Right after the dream, I woke up, went outside my house, and a spaceship lit up over my house in broad daylight. I went and told my roommate what happened. And, you know, my roommate had this look. He didn't know how to respond to something like this. He knew I did remote viewing, but he didn't know how to respond to like the spaceship lighting up over the house. So I just let it go. You know, I couldn't verify what I was seeing on the moon was real, and only that I could verify was, all right, I saw something over the house. So feedback arrived, but it wasn't until like 3 years later, after my initial remote viewing session on the moon. Up until then, I hadn't really delved into the history of remote viewing. So as I began to research more, I stumbled upon a man named Ingo Swann. Now I had heard Ingo's name before, but I hadn't really known who he was. Ingo turned out to be one of the most renowned remote viewers, a pivotal figure in developing the system we all use today. He authored several books, but the book we're going to focus on is called Penetration. Now, Ingo was contacted by a man named Mr. Axelrod from an unknown specific agency. And this was in the 70s, when Ingo was paid $1,000 a day for his sessions. During the session, he was asked to remote viewing the moon. Now, Ingo, during his session, started noticing there was machinery, that there was an atmosphere, and he thought he missed the target and wanted to stop. But Mr. Axelrod encouraged him to keep going. A few moments later, Ingo noticed a dome structure on the moon. And he noticed that there's people inside this dome structure. And that these people noticed him. These people were highly psychic. So that's when Mr. Axelrod then abruptly instructed Ingo to end the session. So you can imagine, as I turned the last page of Ingo's Penetration, the reality of what had happened, what he had witnessed on the moon sinking deeper. The same visions, the same psychic beings. It wasn't just a fluke, it was a shared experience, stretching across decades. This connection to Ingo's discoveries was not just an affirmation of my own remote viewing session, but a thread linking me to a larger hidden tapestry of human capabilities. While the abrupt end to our sessions left more questions than answers, it also opened a gateway to a vast unknown that we all are a part of.